How 30 minutes of betrayal shattered my 8-year marriage, destroyed my family, and left me a stranger in my own children's lives, the devastating true story of chasing a fantasy and losing everything I once loved. Her name was Jessica. My wife's name is Sarah. Was Sarah. I don't know what she is to me now. It started 3 months ago at a work conference in Denver. Jessica was the keynote speaker, successful, confident, everything I told myself I deserved, but never had the balls to go after. Sarah and I had been together 8 years, married for 4. We have 2 kids, Em, who's 6, and Ty, who's 3. Sarah works part-time as a nurse, comes home exhausted, and falls asleep on the couch most nights. I work in marketing, travel too much, and somewhere along the way, I convinced myself I was settling. My buddy Mike kept feeding me this about how I was in my prime and wasting my potential. Social media didn't help. All these success stories, all these men my age living these exciting lives while I'm home changing diapers and arguing about whose turn it is to do dishes. I started believing I deserved more. Jessica approached me after her presentation. Said she'd heard good things about my campaigns. We went for drinks. She laughed at my jokes, touched my arm when she talked. For the first time in years, I felt like the man I used to be before mortgages and minivans. We exchanged numbers. Started texting. Just business at first, then personal. She was recently divorced, had no kids, and traveled constantly. Everything Sarah wasn't. Everything I told myself I wanted. The texting became calls. Late night calls when Sarah was asleep. Jessica would tell me about her day, her ambitions, her freedom. I'd complain about feeling trapped, unappreciated, like I was just a paycheck and a donor. She'd listen. She'd understand. She made me feel seen. 3 weeks of this. 3 weeks of emotional cheating while I kissed my wife goodnight and read bedtime stories to my kids. 3 weeks of lying to myself that this was just friendship, just venting, just harmless. Then Jessica texted me last Tuesday. She was flying through my city. Had a 4-hour layover. Did I want to meet for coffee? I should have said no. I should have blocked her number weeks ago. Instead, I told Sarah I had a client meeting and drove to the airport. Coffee became a drinks at the hotel bar. Drinks became her asking if I wanted to see her room. She had a presentation to review, she said. Just 2 professionals networking, she said. I knew what I was doing when I got in that elevator. I knew when she poured wine from the minibar. I knew when she sat too close on the bed with her laptop between us. I knew, and I did it anyway. We had. Rushed, guilty, desperate, it lasted maybe 20 minutes. How 30 minutes of betrayal shattered my 8-year marriage, destroyed my family, and left me a stranger in my own children's lives, the devastating true story of chasing a fantasy and losing everything I once loved. The whole time, I thought about Sarah making dinner for our kids, probably wondering why I wasn't answering her texts. The whole time, I hated myself and couldn't stop. Jessica was checking her phone before I even got dressed. Already mentally moving on to her next flight, her next city, her next conference. I was just a Tuesday afternoon distraction. A married man willing to throw away everything for a stranger who forgot my name the second I left her room. I drove home in complete silence. No music, no podcasts, just the sound of my breathing and the weight of what I'd done. Sarah was in the kitchen when I walked in, still in her scrubs, heating leftovers. How was your meeting? She asked without looking up. Good, I said. Productive. She smiled. Smiled at me while I stood there reeking of another woman's perfume and my own self-loathing. Emma ran up and hugged my legs, telling me about her day at school. Tyler showed me a drawing he made of our family, all stick figures holding hands under a yellow sun. I played along. Ate dinner. Helped with homework. Read bedtime stories. Tucked my kids in and kissed their foreheads while carrying the secret that would destroy their world. For 6 days, I carried it. 6 days of Sarah making my coffee in the morning, packing my lunch, and texting me throughout the day to check in. 6 days of pretending everything was normal while Jessica's silence confirmed what I already knew, I was nothing to her. A mistake. A weak man who gave up his family for a stranger's validation. Sarah found out Saturday morning. She was doing laundry, found the hotel receipt in my jacket pocket. Not from the affair, from the bar tab. But it was enough. The timeline didn't match my story about the client meeting. The location was wrong. Everything was wrong. She confronted me in the kitchen while the kids watched cartoons in the living room. Her voice was perfectly calm, which somehow made it worse. Where were you Tuesday afternoon, David? I could have kept lying. Could have made up some story about the meeting location changing. But looking at her face, at the woman who'd loved me for 8 years, who'd given me 2 beautiful children, who'd built a life with me that I'd just torched for a stranger. I couldn't do it anymore. I made a mistake, I said. She set down the receipt and looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Like she was cataloging every lie I'd ever told, every time I'd come home late, every moment she'd trusted me that I didn't deserve. How big of a mistake? I told her everything. The texting, the calls, the hotel room, all of it. She listened without interrupting, her face getting paler with each detail. When I finished, she nodded once. Pack a bag, she said. You need to leave. Sarah, please, we can work through this. No. Her voice was steel. We can't. I won't. Pack a bag and go. I tried to explain, tried to apologize, tried to make her understand that it meant nothing, that I loved her, that I'd made a horrible mistake. She walked out of the kitchen. I heard her on the phone with her sister, asking if I could stay there for a few days while she figured things out. The kids asked why Daddy was packing a suitcase. Sarah told them I had to go on a work trip. Emma wanted to know when I'd be back. I looked at Sarah, hoping for some indication of when this nightmare would end. She wouldn't look at me. I've been staying at a motel for 4 days now. Sarah won't take my calls. Her lawyer called yesterday. Divorce papers are being filed. She wants full custody. She's already changed the locks. I destroyed everything that mattered for 30 minutes with a woman who probably doesn't even remember my last name. It's been 6 weeks since Sarah kicked me out. I'm writing this from my studio apartment that smells like Chinese takeout and regret because I need people to understand how fast your entire life can disappear. The divorce papers came 2 weeks after I left. Sarah's lawyer is a shark. She documented everything, the receipts, my confession, the timeline of lies. She's asking for full custody, child support, half of everything, and exclusive use of the house until it sells. Her sister's husband is a private investigator. They have records of all my calls and texts with Jessica, proof that this wasn't just a one-time mistake but a premeditated affair. I hired my lawyer with money I had to borrow from my parents. He's expensive and pessimistic. Told me that Pennsylvania is an at-fault divorce state, and adultery affects everything: custody, support, division of assets. Sarah has documentation, witnesses, and public sympathy. I have nothing but excuses. My parents were horrified when I told them. My father, who's been married to my mother for 43 years, couldn't even look at me. My mother cried. Cried at their kitchen table while I explained how I'd thrown away their grandchildren's stable home for a stranger. How could you do this to those babies? She kept asking. How could you do this to Sarah? I didn't have an answer then. I still don't. Work found out because Sarah's sister told her husband, who told his her brother works in HR at my company. Word spreads fast in a small city. My boss called me into his office last Friday for a wellness check. My performance has been suffering. I've been distracted, missing deadlines, and showing up late. The company has a morality clause in its contracts. Adultery reflects poorly on our brand image, especially when we market family-friendly products. I'm on thin ice professionally. Any more slip-ups and I'm gone. Which would be perfect timing since I'm about to owe Sarah half my income in support payments. Mike, the friend who encouraged my "you deserve better" mentality, has gone completely silent. Won't return my texts or calls. Found out through mutual friends that his wife to leave him if he maintained contact with me. She's scared I'm a bad influence, that infidelity might be contagious. The other guys from our regular poker game have quietly stopped inviting me. I'm a walking reminder that marriages can explode, that fathers can abandon their children for strangers. I make them uncomfortable. Sarah's friends have completely iced me out. These are people I've known for years, who've been in my house, who have helped move apartments and celebrated birthdays with. Now they cross the street when they see me. The wives in our neighborhood group chat blocked my number. I'm persona non grata at school events, birthday parties, and any gathering where Sarah might be present. Which is everywhere, because Sarah stayed. She kept our life, our friends, our community, and our children. I'm the one who left, voluntarily and catastrophically. I tried to contact Jessica 3 weeks ago. Called her office, sent emails, even messaged her on LinkedIn like a desperate person. I needed to understand what that afternoon meant to her, needed some acknowledgement that it was worth destroying my family for. Her assistant finally called me back with a cease warning. Jessica didn't want any contact. The affair meant nothing to her. I was nothing to her. The hotel room cost me everything, and she doesn't even remember my middle name. I get the kids every other weekend now, supervised visits while the custody evaluation is ongoing. They're confused and angry. Emma keeps asking when I'm coming home. Tyler won't let me read him bedtime stories anymore, he only wants mommy. They've started calling me by my first name instead of daddy sometimes. Sarah's not them against me, she doesn't have to. Kids aren't. They know I left. They know I chose to leave. Last Saturday, Tyler had a meltdown at the park. Some kid asked where his daddy lived, and Tyler couldn't explain why daddy doesn't live at home anymore. He cried for 20 minutes, inconsolable, asking me over and over why I moved away. Emma, 6 years old, put her arm around her little brother and said, "Sometimes daddies just leave." I'm teaching my children that fathers abandon their families. That's my legacy. The custody evaluator interviewed me last week. A stern woman in her 50s who's seen every sob story and excuse from cheating spouses. She asked about my decision-making, my priorities, and my commitment to my children's stability. I tried to explain that the affair was a mistake, that I love my kids more than anything, that I want to be present in their lives. She took notes and said she'd make a recommendation to the court. Sarah looks good. Healthier somehow, despite the stress. She's lost weight, started wearing makeup again, and joined a gym. Her sister posts photos on Instagram of girls' nights out, Sarah smiling and laughing with friends. She's moving on. Building a new life. I'm not in any of the pictures. I heard through mutual friends that she's been asked out. Hasn't said yes to anyone yet, but men are noticing her. The divorced nurse with the cute kids and the cheating ex-husband who is around her. She's sympathetic, available, and completely done with me. My lawyer says the financial settlement is going to be brutal. Sarah gets the house, the good car, majority custody, and child support that will leave me with barely enough to cover my studio apartment rent. I'll be working until I'm 70 to pay for the privilege of seeing my children 4 days a month. I wake up every morning in this sad little apartment and remember for about 30 seconds that this is my life now. That I chose this. Those 30 minutes of validation from a stranger cost me my wife, my kids, my home, my friends, my reputation, and my future. Jessica is probably giving presentations in other cities, meeting other married men who think they deserve better than what they have. I'm just another Tuesday afternoon that didn't matter. The worst part isn't the loneliness or the guilt or the financial ruin. It's watching my children adapt to our broken family like it's normal. Tyler stopped asking when I'm coming home. Emma doesn't cry when I drop them off anymore. They're learning to live without me. And Sarah is learning to live without me, too. It's been 18 months since I away my family for a hotel room encounter with a woman who forgot my name before I even left. I'm writing this because I need you to understand what the long-term aftermath of infidelity looks like. It's not dramatic or cinematic. It's just empty. The divorce was finalized 8 months ago. Sarah got everything she asked for. The house, primary custody, child support that takes 60% of my income, and complete legal authority over major decisions about Emma and Tyler's lives. I get them every other weekend and 1 evening per week, supervised until recently. I live in the same studio apartment because it's all I can afford. My credit is shot from the legal fees and the lifestyle adjustment. I drive a 12-year-old Honda because my truck became Sarah's in the settlement. I eat a lot of ramen and cereal for dinner because after child support, rent, and basic living expenses, there's maybe $200 left each month. This isn't poverty, exactly. It's just the natural consequence of having to fund 2 households on 1 income while paying penance for destroying the first one. Sarah remarried 3 months ago. His name is Marcus, he's a paramedic, and by all accounts, he's everything I wasn't. Present, faithful, committed to her and the kids. Emma calls him Marcus, but Tyler has started calling him Dad too. I found out about the wedding through Emma, who mentioned the big party at home when I picked her up that weekend. Sarah hadn't told me she was remarrying. Why would she? I'm just the biological father who destroyed their family stability. Marcus is the man who helped put it back together. The wedding photos showed up on social media, of course. Sarah in a simple blue dress, Marcus in a nice suit, Emma and Tyler as flower girl and ring bearer. They looked happy. Complete. Like a family that had healed around the wound it left behind. I wasn't invited. Obviously. Work has been a slow slide into mediocrity. I'm competent enough to keep my job, but not respected enough for promotions or prime assignments. Everyone knows what I did. In a company that sells family-oriented products, being the guy who cheated on his wife and abandoned his kids makes me a liability. I do my work, collect my paycheck, and try not to think about the career trajectory I had before I imploded my credibility. My parents maintain minimal contact. Birthday cards, obligatory holiday check-ins, but the warmth is gone. I used to be their successful son with a beautiful family. Now I'm their disappointment who lives alone in a studio apartment and sees his kids 4 days a month. My mother still asks about Emma and Tyler, but she gets most of her grandparent updates through Sarah, who maintained a relationship with them after the divorce. Sarah was always better at family relationships than me. Turns out she was better at moving on, too. The kids are adjusting well to their new normal, which is both heartbreaking and healthy. Emma, now 8, is in dance class and soccer. Tyler, who's 5, is learning to read and plays t-ball. I hear about these milestones during our brief exchanges, but I miss most of the actual events. School programs, sports games, birthday parties, I'm rarely invited, and when I am, it's awkward for everyone. Last month Emma had a school play. She was a sunflower in the spring pageant. I asked Sarah if I could attend, and she said yes, but when I got there, I realized I was sitting alone while she sat with Marcus, his parents, and my parents, who'd driven down to see their granddaughter perform. After the play, Emma ran to their section for hugs and photos. I waited on the sidelines until she noticed me and came over for a quick, polite hug. "Did you see me, Daddy? You were perfect, sweetheart." Marcus said I was the best sunflower in the whole show. She ran back to her family. I drove home alone. Tyler's birthday was 3 weeks ago. I wasn't invited to the party, but I was allowed to take him for ice cream that weekend. He told me about the bounce house, the superhero theme, all his friends from school, and the neighborhood. He showed me pictures on Sarah's phone of him blowing out candles surrounded by people who love him. I wasn't in any of the pictures. I bought him a nice present, a remote control car he'd mentioned wanting. He was excited for about 10 minutes, then asked if we could call Mommy because he missed her. Our 4-hour visit ended early because he wanted to go home to his real life. That's what I am now. A brief interruption in my children's real lives. I haven't dated anyone since Jessica. Haven't even tried. Who wants to get involved with a guy who destroyed his family for a stranger? My online dating profile would have to read, Recently divorced father of two away from an 8-year relationship for a one-night stand with a woman who didn't want me anyway. Currently living in a studio apartment and paying most of his income to support the family he abandoned. Looking for someone with incredibly low standards and poor judgment. I've become a cautionary tale in my social circle. The guy who had everything and threw it away. Wives point me out to their husbands as an example of what not to do. I'm the ghost at the feast, the reminder that good men can make devastating choices. Jessica contacted me once, about a year ago. A LinkedIn message saying she'd heard about my divorce and hoped I was doing well. She was engaged to someone from her industry, moving to Seattle for a new position. She wanted to make sure there were no hard feelings about our brief connection. I stared at that message for 3 days before deleting it without responding. Brief connection. That's what she called the 30 minutes that cost me everything I cared about. Sometimes I drive past our old house. Sarah and Marcus painted it a different color, installed new landscaping, and put up a playset in the backyard. There are bikes in the driveway, chalk drawings on the sidewalk, and signs of a family that lives there. Emma and Tyler have a new normal that doesn't include me as a daily presence. I'm not part of their bedtime routine anymore. I don't know their current favorite foods or what they're afraid of or who their best friends are. I'm becoming a weekend visitor in their lives, the guy who used to be their father before he decided he deserved something better than what he had. Last weekend, Tyler asked me why I moved away. He's old enough now to want real answers, not the daddy had to go work in a different place explanations that satisfied him when he was 3. Why don't you live with us anymore? I sat there in my Honda in the parking lot of Chuck E. Cheese, looking at my 5-year-old son who was growing up without me, and I couldn't explain that I traded his stable home for a hotel room with a stranger. Sometimes adults make mistakes, buddy. Really big mistakes. But why can't you just say sorry and come home? Because some mistakes don't get forgiven, son. Because some choices can't be undone. Because daddy destroyed something beautiful for something meaningless, and this is what that looks like. It's complicated, I said. He nodded like he understood, but he's 5. He can't possibly understand how someone could choose to leave his family for nothing. I can barely understand it myself. The affair lasted 20 minutes. The consequences will last the rest of my life. Emma and Tyler will grow up with Marcus as their primary father figure. They'll graduate from high school, go to college, get married, have children of their own, and I'll be the distant biological father who shows up for major events if I'm invited. Sarah built a better life without me. The kids are happy and stable. Marcus loves them like his own. They don't need me to be whole. I'm just the mistake their mother made before she found real love. If you're reading this and you're tempted to step outside your marriage, to chase some fantasy of what you think you deserve, to believe that the grass is greener somewhere else, this is your warning. You don't get to trade your family for excitement and then change your mind when you realize what you've lost.